Alright, what's happening, class? The goal for you guys today is for you to be able to simplify and evaluate expressions with zero, positive, and negative exponents. Alright? So, real quick, for example, and most of you already know this, but just to go over it, okay? A number to the fourth power, for example, 2. Alright, 2 to the fourth power. Means you're multiplying 2 times itself 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4 2's. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 16. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 again is 16. 2 to the third, again, you're going to multiply 2 times itself then 3 times. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 2 to the second power is the same thing as 2 times 2, which is 4. 2 to the first power, which is just 2 by itself, just 1, 2, is going to be 2. And then 2 to the 0 power. Any number, I don't care what it is, it could be a million. A million to the 0 power is 1. Alright, but in this case, it's 2 to the 0 power, it's still going to be 1. Alright, so you can actually, class, you should notice the pattern. As the exponent goes down 1, our answers end up going down by being divided by 2. Divide by 2, you get 8. Divide by 2, you get 4. Divide by 2, you get 2. Divide by 2, you get 1. Alright, now, negative exponents. Whenever you've got a number that's to a negative power, all you have to do, because you don't want to deal with negative exponents, just like when we divided fractions, you didn't want to have to do, I can't even talk. You didn't want to have to deal with the division of fractions, so we just kept change flipped, because multiplication is so much easier. When you have negative exponents, all you're going to do is to turn that exponent into a positive 4. You have to put a 1 on top of it. Alright, that's all you have to do when you come into contact with a number that's to a negative power. So 3 to the negative 4 just becomes 1 over 3 to the fourth. So I've got 1 on top of 3 to the fourth, which is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 4 3's. And when you multiply all those together, you get 81, and then you still got that 1 on top. So 1 over 81 becomes your answer. Another example, 5 to the negative 2 power. Again, you don't want to deal with negative exponents, so we want to turn that into a positive 2. And the way to do that is to put a 1 on top of this. So 1 goes on top, and then 5 to the negative 2 becomes 1 over 5 squared, or 5 to the second power, which is the same thing as 5 times 5. 1's still on top, and 5 times 5 is 25. The 1 just carries over, and this ends up becoming 1 over 25, or 1/25. Now, expressions that deal with variables, numbers, and exponents. Alright, so, for example, we've got 5 times c squared times m to the negative third. Well, if I want to simplify that expression, 5 times c squared, there's nothing we can do about that. Alright, that's just going to stay exactly the same. But m to the negative 3, we know that we don't want a number or a variable to be to a negative power. So I need to turn m to the negative 3 into 1 over m to the third. Now, all of these terms, 5, c squared, and m to the negative third, they're all being multiplied together. So this turns into 1 over m to the third, but it's still being multiplied by 5 times c squared times this. Alright, now to multiply, all I did is, because now these are looking like fractions, this one's looking like a fraction, I want to multiply these together. Well, in order to do that, I'm just going to put a 1 under this 5c squared and multiply. numerators, 5c squared times 1 is just 5c squared, and 1 times m to the third is m to the third. So this expression, as you simplify it, ends up becoming 5c squared all over m to the third. Alright, next example. I've got 7 over e to the negative 2. Well, class, remember, a fraction bar is the same thing as a division sign. They mean the exact same thing. So I'm going to rewrite this as 7 divided by e to the negative 2. Well, you guys know that e to the negative 2, we need to simplify. We don't want to deal with a negative exponent. So 7 is going to stay the same. Division is going to stay the same. But e to the negative 2 is going to become 1 over, now, e to the second power. Now that's positive 2. And now you guys know that you do not want to have to divide fractions. I just said that, alright, a couple minutes ago. So what you want to do is keep, change, flip. Keep, change division to multiplication, and you flip this fraction. E squared now goes on top, 1 goes on bottom. Then when you multiply these together, 7 is the same thing as 7 over 1. And then you've got times e squared over 1. You multiply those out. 7 times e squared is just 7e squared. And 1 times 1 is 1. 7e squared all over 1 is the same thing as 7e squared. Alright, and our last example. Now I'm going to give you an expression with variables, but I'm also going to give you the value of those variables. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is, first you want to simplify the expression. Before you plug any numbers in, alright, simplify the expression the most that you can. 3 times h to the third times p to the negative 4. Well, these aren't going to change. These are going to stay the same. But p to the negative 4, you guys already know, you need to turn that into a fraction. That needs to turn into positive 4, but to do that you have to put a 1 on top. So 3h to the third stays the same, and p to the negative 4 becomes 1 over p to the fourth. When you multiply those together, pretend like you put a 1 underneath this. 3h to the third times 1 is just 3h to the third. 1 times p to the fourth is p to the fourth. Now that this is simplified, you can plug in these values. Alright, so I'm going to plug in negative 2 for h. Alright, everything else around is the same. And I'm going to plug in 3 for p. Alright, so there's the 3 for the p variable. Still the fourth power. Now remember your order of operations, guys. Alright, because you don't want to do 3 times negative 2 first, then put that to the third power. Remember, PEMDAS or PEMDAS, however you learned it, parentheses first. Well, there's no operation inside there, it's just negative 2. So, no p or g. Next, e, exponents, third power. Well, negative 2 is to the third power. So you want to do negative 2 to the third power first, which becomes negative 8. And at the same time, since this is completely separate from that, alright, I can do 3 to the fourth also, which is 81. So negative 2 to the third becomes negative 8, and 3 to the fourth becomes 81, but you still have that 3 outside the parentheses that's being multiplied by this value in here, which is now negative 8. So I'm going to multiply 3 times negative 8 and get negative 24. 81 still 81, but of course you guys know you want to simplify your fraction if you can. Negative 24 and 81 can be divided by 3. So negative 24 becomes negative 8, and 81 becomes 27. Alright, now we're going to work on a bunch of examples like this in class. Alright, but the most important thing to remember is you never want to deal with negative exponents. You always want to turn whatever variable or number is attached to that negative exponent. You want to put a 1 on top, and then whatever that number or variable was with the exponent is going to go on bottom, and it's going to become positive. Alright, but I hope you guys are having a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Take it easy.